It is a weeknight, and you need just a little green onion for your supper. You take the bunch from the refrigerator, and you use the white ends, and you look at what is left, the green tops, the little roots, and you drop them in the trash, the way you always have, the way everyone does. You paid $1 for that bunch, maybe more, and half of it just went into the bin. And next week you will go back to the store and buy another bunch and use half and throw half away again and again and again for the rest of your life. Let me say it plainly. You have been throwing away a plant that would have grown back for you again and again for free on your windowsill if only someone had told you it could. Come with me into my kitchen. On the sill above Yuki's sink, in the morning light, stands a small glass jar of water. And rising out of it, tall and green and fresh, is a little forest of green onions. They are the very same green onions we bought weeks ago. Yuki used the green tops for cooking, and instead of throwing away the white root ends, she stood them in this jar of water. And they grew. New green shoots rose up from the cut, taller by the day. She snips what she needs, and they simply grow back again. One bunch of green onions, bought once, has been giving us fresh green onion for weeks, and it is still growing, from a jar of plain water. The trouble with wasted green onions is not the green onion. Understand that first. The green onion is one of the most generous plants there is. When you cut off the green top, you have not killed it, not if you kept the white base and the little roots at the bottom. That base is still alive. It is still a whole small plant, roots and all, wanting only water and light to grow again. We throw living plants in the trash every week without ever knowing they were alive, without ever knowing that the part we discarded was the part that would have fed us for a month. Think about what that habit cost you, quietly, across a year. A bunch of green onions is $1, sometimes more, and most people use a little and bin the rest, then buy again the next week. That is $50 a year, more in some places, on a plant you are throwing half of into the trash and could have grown back for nothing. And it is not only green onions. This same quiet waste happens with so many things we treat as garbage, the parts that are still alive, still willing to grow, if we only knew to set them in water instead of the bin. The green onion is where I want you to begin, because it is the easiest, the most generous, and the most forgiving plant of all. Here in Japan, and across all of Asia, where the green onion, we call it negi, is in nearly every dish, no cook worth the name throws away the roots. It would be a small foolishness. Instead, people have long stood the cut roots in water, or tucked them back in a pot of soil, and let them grow again and again. It is old, simple, everyday thrift. And once you learn it, plainly, you will never drop another green onion root in the trash. You will set it in a jar and watch it give back. My name is Kenji Takara. I am 81 years old, and I live in Okinawa, in the south of Japan. Yuki has kept a jar of regrowing green onions on her windowsill since she was a young woman, as her mother did before her, and her mother's mother before that. In their kitchens, you did not waste a plant that wanted to live. You did not throw away something that would feed you again for the mere trouble of a jar of water. We have a word for the sorrow of such waste. Matenai. It is the shame of throwing away something that still has worth, still has life, still has more to give. And a green onion root dropped in the bin when it would have grown you a month of fresh green onion is exactly that sorrow, repeated $1 at a time. And here is the quiet truth the stores would rather you never think about. There is no money in teaching you that one bunch of green onions can become an endless supply on your own windowsill. There is a great deal of money in you coming back every week to buy another bunch and another, and throwing half of each away. The jar of water costs nothing. The windowsill is already there. No one hid this from you. You were simply never shown that the root you were throwing away was alive and eager and free. Quick word before I begin, and I won't bring it up again. Everything I share here, there's far more of it than fits in one video. So I gathered it all into one book, the Takara method. And right now I'm keeping it at a special price, lower than it'll normally be. The link's in the description, or point your phone at the code on screen. That's all. Now let me show you today's. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to regrow green onions in a jar of water on your windowsill, again and again. How to cut them, how to keep the water clean, how to move them to soil to grow them even longer, the honest limits of how long it lasts, and how many other kitchen scraps you can regrow the very same way. I will show you the plain reason it works, the simple method step by step, and what it saves you across a year. So let us begin. And the first thing to understand is the one that makes it all make sense. When you buy green onions, you are buying a whole living plant, roots and all, and the part you throw away is the part that is still alive. Let me show you exactly how to keep it living and set it growing again. First, the science. Plainly, why does a cut green onion grow back when so many other things you cut simply wilt and die? Here is the whole of it, and it is a small wonder once you see it. A green onion is not like a leaf you have picked, cut off from its plant and slowly dying. When you buy a bunch of green onions with the little white roots still on the bottom, you are holding a complete, living plant. The roots are there, the base is there, and hidden in that white base, just above the roots, is the growing point of the plant, the part from which new green leaves rise. When you cut off the green top to cook with, you have not harmed that growing point at all. It sits safe down in the white base, and it immediately sets to work, sending up a new green shoot to replace the one you took. This is simply how the plant is built. It expects, in its own way, to be grazed and to grow back. All it needs to do that work is water for its roots and light for its leaves. Let me say a little more about why this is, because understanding it will make you a wiser gardener of your own windowsill. That green top you cut and cooked with was, to the plant, its solar panel. The green is where the plant catches sunlight and turns it into food. Down in the white base, over its life, the onion has quietly stored away a reserve of that food, like coins saved in a jar. So when you cut the green away, the plant is not starting from nothing. It reaches into its saved-up reserve and spends it to push out a fresh green shoot as fast as it can, hurrying to rebuild its solar panel and start feeding itself again. That is why the first regrowth comes so quickly and so strong. The plant is spending its savings, and it is also why, as you will see, plain water alone cannot keep this going forever. Eventually those savings run low, and the plant needs real feeding again. But we will come to that. So that is why it grows back so readily. You are not performing a trick on a dead thing. You are giving a living plant the two things it needs, water and light, and then simply letting it do what it already wants to do. Plainly, you are not the one growing the onion. The onion grows itself. You only stop throwing it away. Now what you need? Almost nothing. And that is the beauty of it. You need green onions, with the roots still attached, Look at the bottom of the bunch when you buy, and choose one with good little white roots, not trimmed off. You need a glass, a jar, or a small cup. You need water, and you need a windowsill or any spot that gets some daylight. That is the whole list. No soil, no pots, no special thing to buy, not to begin. Later, if you wish, a small pot of soil will grow them even longer, and I will tell you exactly how. But to start, a jar and water and light are all you need. Now the method, step by step. Step 1. When you use your green onions, cut them so you leave the white base with the roots and about 2 to 3 inches of the plant above the roots. You can use all the green top for your cooking. Just keep that bottom 2 or 3 inches with the roots on the very end to regrow. The more of the white base you leave, the stronger the regrowth, so do not cut too low. If you have a choice, cut with clean scissors or a clean knife so you do not crush or dirty the base where the new growth will come from. Step 2. Stand those root ends upright in a jar or glass, roots down, and add water, enough to cover the roots and the very bottom of the white base, but not so much that you drown the whole stalk. About an inch of water is right. The roots want to be in the water. The rest of the little stalk wants to be in the air. If you submerge the whole thing, it will rot instead of grow. Roots wet, body dry. Remember that. If your jar is tall and the stalks are short and fall in, a trick of Yuki's is to lean them against the rim or use a narrow glass that holds them upright so the green tops stay up in the air and the light. Step 3. Set the jar on a windowsill or anywhere it gets some daylight. Light is what lets the plant build its new green leaves. A kitchen windowsill is perfect. Within just a day or two, you will see new green beginning to rise from the cut tops. Within a week, you will have tall, fresh green onion again, grown from the very roots you used to throw away. Turn the jar around every couple of days if you notice the shoots leaning toward the glass, for like all green things, they reach for the light, and turning them keeps them growing straight and even. Step 4, and this is the one step people forget, so listen closely. Change the water every day, or at the very least every 2 days. Fresh, clean water each day is the whole secret to keeping this going and keeping it from turning foul. Pour out the old water, give the jar a quick rinse, and refill it with clean water to the same level. Old, cloudy, unchanged water is the one thing that will spoil the whole endeavor. It grows slimy, it begins to smell, and the roots sicken. Clean water daily, and your green onions will grow tall and sweet and keep on giving. Step 5. Harvest as you need. When you want green onion for a dish, simply snip off the green tops with scissors, leaving the base in the water to grow again. Cut what you need, leave the rest growing. The plant sends up more. This is the quiet magic of it. You are not harvesting a crop once. You are keeping a small living plant that gives, and gives again, from the same roots. A gentle habit. Take from the outer, taller leaves and leave the small young center shoots to keep rising, and the plant will carry on longer. Let me place one quiet thing here. The way Yuki keeps a small notebook by her window where she marks the day she started a jar and how many times she has harvested from it, so she knows when a batch is tiring and it is time to start a fresh one. Keep your own small record. It is a small pleasure, and it teaches your eye the rhythm of the thing. Step 6. For those who wish to go further, moving to soil, so the plant lives not weeks but months. This is the step that turns a little kitchen trick into a small, endless garden, and it is worth doing. After your green onions have grown roots well in the water and given you a harvest or two, take the rooted base and plant it in a small pot of ordinary potting soil. Make a little hole, set the roots down in it, and cover the roots and the very bottom of the white base with soil, leaving the green growing part above the surface. The same rule as before: roots buried, body in the air. Water it so the soil stays damp but not soaked, and keep it on your sunny sill. Now the plant is no longer living on its savings alone. In the soil it can feed itself properly, drawing up what it needs, and it will grow thick and strong and keep giving you green onion for many months, even a year or more, if you harvest it kindly and water it. Water to begin, soil to continue. That is how you get the longest life from a plant you were about to throw in the bin. Now, the honest scope, what can go wrong, and the honest limits, because I will not tell you it is magic when it is simply nature, and nature has its bounds. First, the plain truth of how long it lasts. Green onions regrown in plain water will give you strong regrowth for a few cycles, often 2, 3, sometimes more good harvests. But water alone does not feed a plant. It only lets it live on what it already stored, those savings I spoke of. So with each regrowth in plain water, the new shoots grow a little thinner and a little paler as the plant slowly spends itself down. This is honest, and you should know it, so you are not disappointed when the 4th or 5th cutting comes up slender. That is not failure. That is simply the plant running low on its reserve. Move it to soil before that point, and it will find new strength. Second, cleanliness, which is both a matter of success and a small matter of safety. Change the water daily, as I said, and if the water or the roots ever turn truly slimy, foul-smelling, or the base goes mushy and rotten rather than firm, that plant is finished. Take it out, and do not use a rotted, slimy stalk in your food. A healthy regrowing onion is firm and smells clean and oniony. A rotted one is soft and smells sour or foul. Trust your nose and your fingers. Keep the jar clean, keep the water fresh. Keep the growing part above the water, and trouble will rarely come. Keep the jar out of harsh, baking, direct sun through glass. On the hottest days, too, for very hot water in a small jar can cook the roots rather than grow them. Bright light is the friend, fierce heat is not. And rinse your regrown green onions well before you eat them, as you would any fresh thing from the garden. Now, Matenai. The heart of all this, for the green onion is only the beginning. Once your eyes are open to it, you will see that your kitchen scraps are full of life you have been throwing away. The very same water and windowsill method regrows so many things. Leeks, which are cousins of the green onion, regrow just the same way from their root base. The bottom of a head of celery, that white root end you cut off and bin, set it in a shallow dish of water, and a whole new heart of celery grows up from its center. The base of a romaine lettuce or a bok choy, the same, set in a little water, and fresh leaves rise from the middle. Napa cabbage, the same. Lemongrass stalks with their base intact will root in water. The root end of a fennel bulb, the same. And herbs, a cutting of mint, of basil, of many soft herbs, will grow roots in a glass of water and become whole new plants you can pot up and keep. Your cutting board at the end of a meal is not only making scraps for the bin, it is making the beginnings of new plants if you have the eyes to see them. And the green onion, once thriving on your sill, wastes nothing itself. You use the green tops in your cooking. When you finally retire an old tired base, It goes not in the trash, but into the soil of a pot or the garden to feed the next thing. Nothing begins in the bin, and nothing ends there. That is matanai, the understanding that so much of what we call garbage is only life we have not yet learned to keep. Now the honest math plainly. A bunch of green onions is perhaps $1, sometimes $1.50 or $2. A cook who uses green onion often might buy a bunch a week, use part, and bin the rest. Call it $50, $70, $80 a year, and much of it thrown away half used. Now the other way. Buy a bunch, use the green, and set the roots to grow. One bunch now gives you weeks of fresh green onion from the windowsill, and if you move it to soil, months. You buy far fewer bunches. Perhaps you rarely buy them at all, once a few pots are going. Across a year, you might keep $40, $60 in your pocket for the cost of a jar of water you already own and a few minutes of care, and you will always have fresh green onion at hand, greener and fresher than the stores, growing right there in your window. Plainly, the method is free, and it pays you every single week and asks almost nothing in return. So here is what I ask you to do this week. The next time you use green onions, do not throw away the roots. Cut them so you keep the bottom 2 or 3 inches with the little roots on. Stand them in a small glass with an inch of water, roots down. Set the glass on a windowsill that gets some light, and change the water every day. Within a week, you will be snipping fresh green onion from a plant you used to throw in the trash. That one little jar on your sill will tell you, better than all my words, everything this lesson has been about. And tell me something in the comments. When you were young, did your mother or your grandmother keep something growing on a windowsill, or regrow some scrap of a plant, or have a way of stretching what most people threw away? What was it? Those small green thrifts are exactly the kind of wisdom that vanishes when no one writes it down. Share yours. I read every single one. Next time, since today we learned to regrow the green onion from its roots, I will show you how Yuki takes the celery bottoms and the lettuce hearts most people throw away and grows those again too, turning a whole windowsill into a small, endless, free garden. The same care, the same waste-nothing heart. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Until then, remember the whole of it in one breath. Keep the white roots, stand them in an inch of clean water on a sunny sill, change the water each day, and the green onion you used to throw away grows back for you again and again for free.